Okay guys, in this video we're going to be taking a look at the Hawkeye Firefly 7S. It's a HD 4K action camera, kind of like a GoPro, and it comes with a nice little waterproof case there. This is what it looks like on the outside of the box. Waterproof to 20 meters and 1050 milliamp hour battery. Here's some of the specs. So 4K at 24 frames per second and 1080p at 60 frames per second, which is probably what I'm going to be using. It does have Wi-Fi connectivity for your phone. Okay, let's get this out of the box and take a look at it. Okay, let's see what we got in the box. Got some stickers. Got our user manual. So we got Wi-Fi, we have gyro image stabilization. Got LCD and an OLED, so it's got dual screens, and it's got the Sony 12 megapixel CMOS, that should be CMOS sensor. Look at this a little more. USB cable, straps, another mount, a bunch of mounts here. Let's take them all out. Okay, as you see here, it does come with a bunch of mounting options, including this little tripod adapter here. And this is exactly, I'm not 100% sure if it's exact, but it looks like it's pretty much exactly the same as what comes with like an SJ 4000 from SJCam. Got some additional 3M sticky pads here for these mounts here, and you get some extra zip ties. But all of these typical mounts look the same. Here's another tripod mount. I think this one goes on the back of this here. It's like a belt clip mount. So I'm pretty sure these are typically what comes with like a SJCam or a lot of the other action cams out there. So get this out of the waterproof case. It's got a button in the front. It looks like I just turned it on. I just barely tapped the button and turned on. Okay, here's a closer look at the camera itself. Got an OLED screen here in the front. Got a power switch here. Pretty nice looking lens. Looks like it's got some pretty good protection. On the side we got our micro SD card slot. Looks like a micro HDMI slot and a micro USB connector. It's probably a microphone there. You get a 2-inch LCD in the back. And this is your battery. Looks very familiar. Looks a lot like an SJCam. Get a 1050 milliamp hour battery. And we get some up and down buttons here. And this is for probably for changing your modes. So let's turn this on. Press. There it goes. So it looks like the default mode is 1080p at 60 frames per second. And here in the front, it says no card. Has the date hasn't been set. And you can also see the 1080p 60 frames per second there, along with a battery indicator. So try to press the button there and it says please insert card. Gonna have to go do that. See what happens if I change our modes here. Okay, so press the power button once and it goes into these modes, and you got movie, photo, time lapse, burst, playback, and setup menu. So it looks like a movie is set. So I don't think this is a touchscreen, so I think we use these buttons here. So there's movie, photo, time lapse, burst, playback, setup menu. Let's go into there. I think you press the top button to go into the menu. There we go. You have Wi-Fi, OSD on, frequency. ISO color, sharpness, exposure. So right now the gyro is off. NTSC. So the gyro is like basically electronic image stabilization, if you guys are wondering. Date to time, sound. It's all pretty normal, pretty typical stuff here. Okay, just curious what version we're on. So version is 0805001. I'm not sure if there's a firmware update or not. I'm gonna go check. So this is photo mode. Looks a little more square. Instead of you got the black bars. Let's go back out. And in movie mode you get the 16:9 aspect ratio. Okay, let's see how this camera compares to some of the other action cameras I've got. Okay, so here's the Firefly next to the Eken H9, and they're pretty similar in size. The Eken's a little bit taller. It looks like it's a little bit wider as well. Yeah. So one of the things I saw from the specs is the Firefly is more like a GoPro in terms of size. And that's one of the reasons why a lot of these other action cameras like the Eken and the SJCam are thicker, because of the screen. But even though this has a screen, in fact it has dual screens, they've managed to pack in all the electronics into the GoPro form factor, which normally, I don't think a GoPro has a screen anyway, but they've managed to sort of keep those same dimensions. And so I believe all the mounts and stuff that work for a GoPro will work for the Firefly. So that's one of the things that was kind of unique about this. The width is the same here, but the depth is definitely thinner for the Firefly. And it looks like the heights are close, but let's see here. Yeah, the Firefly is definitely not as tall, so pretty sure that these are going to be GoPro dimensions, but I'm going to get my caliper out and measure these in case any of you guys have GoPro stuff and want to use their mounts. So the width across there is 59.3 millimeter, comes in at 41.2 millimeters, and the depth comes in at 22 millimeters, 21.9 and 22 millimeters. So don't have a GoPro to do an exact comparison, but if you do have one, you could take your own measurements and see if this camera has the same dimensions as a GoPro, and if your accessories will work with this. As you can see in the front, the power button here is already in a different spot. I don't know if the screen for the GoPro is in the same spot here. I think it is. I'm not 100% sure. But you can see the power button's in a different spot here. And same on top as well. This is moved over more to the left. Another thing that I just discovered is I was taking out the micro SD card from my Eken H9, and it's a pretty good one. It's one of these Samsung Evo 64 gigabytes. Works fine in here. Does not work in this one, and it's because these will only take a maximum of a 32 gigabyte card. So you should keep that in mind. Not a big deal. I have a bunch of 32 gigabyte cards around, so I'm just gonna go find one of those, and then we'll take a look at how the recordings look. Okay, so I want to also do a comparison with the Turnigy 2K HD cam, and this is basically an SJ4000, the clone of that, and we can also see here that the thickness is quite a bit more for the Turnigy versus the Firefly, and the height is similar. Can't see that it's exact. Let me measure that. So Turnigy is 41.2. The Firefly is 41.1. So yeah, so those are, they felt about the same, and they're pretty close. The thickness is clearly, the Firefly is much thinner there, about the same height. The width is about the same. They feel about the same. So I went ahead and grabbed out my card from the Turnigy, and that had a 32 gigabyte card. Here you can see the back screen on the Turnigy is much smaller. And I'll go ahead and pop in my 32 gigabyte Samsung card and fire this up and get some recordings. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and do some recordings, probably do some side-by-sides with some of my other cameras. I also have a Xiaomi Yi and a Runcam 2. We'll go ahead and roll some of that here in a bit. Okay, so before I show you guys some sample video, I want to go over these video settings, and I missed that because this wasn't in the main settings menu. You have to be in the mode that you're in. So for example, we're in video mode, and then you press one of these buttons here, and you get these video settings. And so here are some of the options here. You got your resolution, loop recording on off, time lapse, auto record, video voice. I'm not 100% sure what that is. And then here's a wide dynamic range, and the manual recommends that you use wide dynamic range during the day and not under cloudy conditions, because it, like I said, the video is worse then. Get a driving mode for if you want to use this as a dash cam. And then we have a couple interesting options here, like remove fisheye. It's currently off, and motion detection, night mode. You can adjust the bitrate. Right now it's low, so that might be something useful for YouTube. Here you set your date and timestamp. And this, I think, is angle is field of view. So if you go in here, you have large, medium, and small. So I'll do is I'll go through some of these options and take some sample video using different ones and show you what the different ones look like.